Hello all, welcome to my channel. I'm back with another video. This video is about Airflow event triggers, which is a new scheduling mechanism that has been launched in 3.1. So let's get started. So Apache Airflow was initially designed for time and dependency based scheduling. So if the DAGs used to run at a certain time interval, or if certain tasks used to execute when other upstream tasks were successfully executed. So this was based on time and dependency. But the newer modern architectures or data architecture that we have require real-time processing or near real-time processing of data and the ability to react to events. So for example, let's say we can build pipelines where, let's say, once a user gets onboarded, so what needs to be done for that particular user, or let's say uh, on a daily basis, once, let's say, a user does a lot of transactions in their what you call a stockbroking platform, so at the end of the day we want to send them a report, so that report generation data pipeline needs to be executed. So that kind of scenario where this is based on event rather than based on uh, a particular time. It's something that can be that was not natively there in Airflow, but now to fill this gap, Airflow has added a new support which is called event-driven scheduling, and this enables Airflow DAGs to be triggered based on external events rather than predefined time-based schedules. So this builds up on top of the approach that was used for the data assets. So the way data assets are used to get the way we were executing tasks based on availability of new data on a data asset, same something similar has been done to achieve this event-based uh, triggering. So what basically this does is that we will have an event producer which produces a event to external system, like it can be queue or like SQS, or it can be a Kafka topic or RabbitMQ topic. So any external queue, external service can be there, and then we have an external. We create an external watcher which keeps which is an external asset watcher, which treats this message queue as an asset and sees wherever a new data or a new message has arrived in that particular asset or queue, it will trigger a DAG. So that's how the flow works. So there are three things in here that needs to be considered. One is the asset watcher, then there is the external message queue, then we have the message triggerer. So these three services are there involved, which are doing this whole pipeline thing. So how it works is that this is the sequence flow. So once the DAG file is so once we write a DAG file using this message trigger, what will happen once this parses, it will see that, okay, there is an asset and triggers defined on this particular in this particular DAG. So it will register those things in database. Okay. Once it is registered in the database, the triggerer, which is asynchronous process which keeps on looking for the triggers conditions, so it will fetch the triggers from the DB and register itself, and then it will construct the trigger, and then it will start to monitor that particular trigger. So it will poll the state from the external state, because that's where we have created. So for example, let's say if we have a message trigger for SQS, so it will poll for that particular external source and get the state. Once we have that particular state reached, which is the condition that is being met, that will come back, and then we have the assets associated with the current triggerer. It will see whether the asset has something or not. If the asset has any event, it will trigger the DAG processing. So it will trigger the DAGs to get executed. So this is how the whole flow. So we have, if you see, the DAG processor is involved, the triggers and assets are getting registered in the database. The triggerer, the async process, which runs, which continuously monitors the external source. And once we have anything new, it will register. If the external resource state matches the condition, then it will trigger the DAG, so that it runs the DAG defined, the task defined in the DAG. The flow we have already understood, but let's see how we define. So what basically we have to do is we have to install these two. For example, let's say if we are installing if we want to trigger a DAG based on a message in a queue, which is SQS, so we will install Apache Airflow providers Amazon and Apache Airflow providers for common messaging. So Amazon will have all the other things related to AWS construct, like SQS, then AWS connections. So those kind of things, it comes from this. And messaging is the what you call message queue or triggerer that has been implemented by AWS Common. So that comes from the common. And we also have, let's say, DAG asset and asset watcher because we need to create that. So first we define the SQS queue. So we define our AWS account, account ID, queue name, and then we also define a trigger. So trigger is it inherits from the base asset trigger. And if you see, it defines an SQS, then we have AWS default, SQS queue, and delay, how we want gap between the poles. And then we define an SQN asset. So asset is nothing but we say that asset name, and then we say that, okay, asset watcher is which class. So asset watcher class we add, and then we mention that which trigger. So this trigger is that one we have registered in here. We can say SQS trigger. And then this asset that we have defined, this task schedule is based on this asset. So whenever our queue will have a message, this trigger will pick up that, and it will start a DAG processing. And what we are doing in this task, we are simply printing whatever the message we get to verify that, okay, we are able to process this message that was there or not. So this is how we create an event-based trigger. And this is a good thing to do if we are on 3.1 plus Airflow version. It reduces a lot of complexity. Otherwise, we will have to create external DAG trigger. We will have to keep monitoring the message queue, and then every time we see a message, we have to call the DAG run operator to execute a DAG. So that was a complex setup that was needed. Now with this event trigger, this becomes native. We don't have to do any extra setup. We just define these things, and it will automatically get triggered whenever a message is present in the queue. So that was it. Uh, Enjoy doing data engineering. See you in the next video. Thanks.